it's me again. I'm now to the serious me. I'm going to keep the hat on because if I take it off, the hair is like going everywhere, so that's not going to happen. So y'all just have to kind of deal with the playful Murray, about to read from Shicreta Murray's book this time. All right? All right. Let me give you guys a quick synopsis about what this book is about. Liberated Love is my fourth release. It's a spiritual development book, as I mentioned earlier. And I went through some things in my life, and one of them dealt with a domestic abusive situation. And it taught me a lot about myself, taught me a lot about God. It caused me to question a lot of things that I was taught growing up, especially on a Christian perspective. And let's just say that our perception of who God is usually a little bit different than the reality of really who He is. And He's very liberating. He doesn't force feed anybody. He gives you choices. And unfortunately, sometimes the religious perception can steal it. And as women, some of that liberation has truly been stolen from us. And so the chapter I'm going to read from is chapter 2. And as men as well, actually, because you can't really liberate a woman without liberating a man. That's usually what I say. We come together, right, guys? Okay, this is from chapter 2 of my book, Liberated Love, entitled The Breath of Perception. One day, a thought breathed belief and gave breath to perception. And perception is motivated solely by beliefs. And based on what one thinks will determine what one believes in one's heart. The beliefs that are engraved in one's heart will determine that person's perception. Our beliefs are created by what we think about the most. What we meditate on and our thoughts will create our beliefs. And whatever we believe, we will live out in our actions every day. All relationships, especially our relationship with God and our marriage relationships, are dependent solely on the perception of what individual men and women think about one another and how men and women perceive God. So as I mentioned in the introduction, 100% of all relationships are about perception. A marriage will be only as healthy as the beliefs that birth the perception toward it. The way in which a man and woman become one as husband and wife stems from how they both think and perceive one another individually as a man and as a woman. So basically, not until one believes and thought processes confront and change our hearts, that our perception of the opposite sex will change. Only then will the marriage relationship between husband and wife stand on a firm foundation, gain strength, and truly flourish. If we imagine a relationship like a house, I guess our beliefs would be the foundation. Our thoughts would be the walls, and our perception would be the windows. Every successful relationship must have vision and sight for the future. However, when our thoughts become blinded by dismantling beliefs and a blurry perception of God and the opposite sex, any relationship will experience a crack in its foundation. The walls will crumble and the windows will shatter. For example, if a husband perceives his wife as a habitual nag, it's highly possible that he will lose respect for her and hesitate to listen to her, even if she has something valuable. when he gave the gift of choice and dominion over the earth to both male and female. In Genesis 1:26-28 it says, "Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." These verses clearly show us that God gave both Adam and Eve the commandment to walk in dominion as equal partners on the earth, both having been made in his image together as one. He commanded them to be fruitful and multiply on the earth. Based on God's original vision for both men and women, we should clearly see that God did not give authority only to males, but to females as well. Also, we should notice that at no time before the fall did God give males preeminent authority over females and vice versa. Another thing to point out is in verse 26, where God said, "Let us make man in our image, and let us make them have dominion." If you notice, God used the plural form "them" to describe both male and female. One thing to note is that often, when God says man, he is referring to male and female equally, as a part of